Alright, welcome back to my channel everyone. Today we are diving into the world of Python game development. We'll be creating a simple word guessing game where you can try to guess the name of an Avenger. This is the first part of a series where we're gradually going to improve the code and adding features and making it more efficient. In this initial version, we're going to focus on the basic game logic starting from scratch. So let's start from the home screen using a Windows computer with Python already installed. We create a new folder, open that folder and open Visual Studio Code, which is the editor we'll be using. So from Visual Studio Code, on the left column, you can start by creating a new file, Python file, so it should end with .py. We are not going to use GitHub Copilot. You can check out my other videos to explain why we don't use that. And since this is a beginner-friendly project, we're really going to slowly start by pseudocoding a project. Pseudocode is important. It just lays out the steps that we're going to follow, more or less like a flowchart. And in case you get confused, you can always come back and check out your code. This is pretty much the steps of code that you have to perform in order to achieve your end goal. So using comments, again, check out the other video. You see how we utilize single line or multi-line comments. And for our Avengers assemble word game, we're going to need to have a list of Avengers. Choose a random word. So in order for us to do a random word, we're going to need to import the random module. This is a built-in module in Python. So from there, we can go ahead and create a list. That list is going to be full of Avengers names per se. And again, a list is a basic data structure in Python. And make sure that the list starts with square brackets. All the values are separated with commas. It's okay to have a comma at the end. That's totally fine. And then we can now proceed to choose a random word from the list. We use the random module that we just imported on line 5 and the choice method within that module. That choice method will then pass the parameter of Avengers, which is a list that will generate randomly choose a word from that list. And again, we need to make sure we get the length of that word, which we'll use to display the word with underscores and an extra space at the end. That length is used to multiply that underscore a number of times depending on the length of that word. If it's a 4-letter word, we're going to have 4 dashes and spaces. If it's a 10-letter word, we're going to have 10 dashes and spaces. That way it's dynamic. So make sure you just follow it step by step. And as you see, we want to be able to print our results at every step. So don't write too much code before printing. You can use a print statement to debug your code. You can use it to, understand what level of the code you're currently at. Awesome. So again, we're going to need to record some variables. We'll use a guess, which is currently blank. We'll also have guesses, which we're going to keep track of. We need a maximum number of guesses. For now, we're not going to do too much crazy stuff. Just say, hey, we're going to guess 5 times, or rather we're going to have maximum of 5 bad guesses and so on. And then we can go ahead and have some kind of introduction to the game before we can use it. And then print it out as well to see what it looks like. So again, this is a beginner friendly coding session, I would say. So use backslash n to be able to print out your lines neatly so that you can go to the next line. As you can see, welcome, guess, you are all on new lines because of the new line escape character. So yes, again, you can beautify it by multiplying, using the asterisk a few number of times to make it look neat. Adjust it as you need to make it look as user-friendly as you want. So again, all of this is just to beautify your welcome screen for this code. So again, make sure you use the good variable names. Don't use G, G1, MG, and so on. You're going to get confused when you come back to your code. And when it's time for printing, you can also use F-string, which is a formatted string. You can have your variables within the string in curly braces, and so on and so forth. All right, so that's about it, for the first part, getting everything situated. Next, the mother load is that game logic we talked about. We need to be able to set up our game logic. So let's go ahead and set up a pseudocode as well. Again, pseudocode is a killer, right? So outline the steps that we need to take once we want to guess the particular word that has been randomly chosen from our list. So we'll need to get the user's input. Once the user's input has been gotten, we need to now update our guesses, update the good guesses, bad guesses, the number of guesses based on if the user's input is good or bad. So if it's good, we need to also let them know, like, hey, the letter you guessed is in the word. If it's bad, we need to let them know, hey, the letter you guessed is not in the word. And then we're going to look through the word and print the outcome, and also check it with what we already have in our guesses. So at the end of the day, if all the letters in the word, random word, are found in our word display, then the game is won. Also, if we run out of number of guesses, if we max out our guesses, then we lose the game. So it's as easy as that. Now let's go ahead and implement this pseudocode. So in order for us to start a loop, we need a variable that's going to be like a counter or a Boolean value, which we're going to test if it's true or false. So we want to check if you're still playing, and if you're still playing, we can go ahead and get a user's input. For now, we're just going to do it real quick, nitty gritty, dirty. Get the user's input, convert it to all caps, I think. So we should probably set up our random word to be in uppercase. Again, that's a method that is part of all string methods. Every string can be converted to an uppercase, lowercase, and so on. The string is a text as well. So again, once we've gotten that guess and converted it to uppercase, we can now compare if that letter is within our guess. Like I said, this is just the first step. This is a beginner-friendly one. We're going to check all our validations in a subsequent method once we start going deeper and deeper. So again, if the guess is good, we go ahead and update the good guesses variable. If it's bad, we update the bad guesses variable. And we also print out like, hey, good guess, this is in the word or this is not in the word. And at the end of the day, we want to print the outcome, and maybe we want to see our bad versus good and total guesses that we've had so far. So using that F string, which we mentioned earlier, to format our output, we can go ahead and put in those variables in there and print it out very easily. So yeah, in this case, you want to probably take your time. Well, we're going to come back and we do all of this, or we view all of this to make sure that everything is correct. But for now, let's just get all the logic out of our system. And Again, I think the guesses is a number. So yeah, we're going to come back to this. Let me just run through this real quick. Now, looping through and printing the word itself. Yeah, I think we did exit and say we didn't need Copilot, but the autocomplete is still there. We'll just take advantage of it. But instead of looping through a range, I'd rather we look through the particular letters in the word. So let's go for each letter in the word or in the guesses. We can now look through it. If the letter is in our word, we display it and add a space at the end, or just display underscore, and then that should be good. Now, once we've printed everything out or we've gotten everything, we can now go ahead and check if we won. To see if we've won, we want to check if the word is equal to the guess or the display, everything we've displayed so far. And yeah, if that's the case, we change our indicator, if I should call it that, the condition which we're checking, so that we're no longer playing. Now that loop is not going to be infinite because we said, hey, still playing is equal to false. The same thing as well for looks good. Yeah, the same thing if we max out our guesses and then we'll lose. So let's go back to this and check everything again from scratch. About 70 lines of code. That's not bad. We can review all of that. Let's clear our screen. Now, before we start running the code, let's go through it again from the beginning. So let's look at this real quick. Alright, so breaking down the code step by step, we start by importing the random module, which is essential for selecting the random Avenger from our list. Now we define our Avengers list. We create a list containing the names of all our popular Avengers. And we need to have some kind of consistency with our lowercase, uppercase, and so on, dashes, spaces. And next we need to select the random word. We use some kind of random.choice method to pick the random Avenger from our list and convert it to uppercase for consistency. And then we initialize a few game variables like the word length to store the length of our randomly selected word, the word display that initially displays the underscores representing the hidden word, the guesses, which is, I think we should change this to a set. So it should be a set or to store the letters guessed by the player. Again, we're using a set because in this case, we want to prevent duplicate guesses efficiently. So again, we have data structures, which could be list, sets, triples, queues, and or DQs, as well as dictionaries, but sets would be best for this case. Now, max guesses limits the number of incorrect guesses. And then we also have good and bad guesses, which track the incorrect and correct guesses. Now, within the game loop, the main game logic is contained in that while loop. So inside the loop, we get to get a user's input for letter guess. We need to validate this somehow. So validating the user input to prevent unexpected behavior is very critical. Otherwise, we are breaching security in many different ways. So we only want to accept single letters. So we need to check if the letter is already been guessed. We need to also add the guess to the guesses set, which we just changed from a list to a set. Then determine if the guess is correct or incorrect. Once we determine that, we get to update the display word or the word display to show correctly if it's guessed the letters rightly or not, and check if we win or lose. As you can tell from my dyslexia, I'm just mixing things up here. I'm flipping things in the wrong direction, but at least checking it helps us to be able to see what the issue is. So again, At the end of the day, we get to print the current state of the game, including the hidden word, the number of guesses, the game messages, and so on and so forth. So let's double check some of these equations here. Yeah, we probably want to go ahead and make sure that we check every letter in the guesses, that they match every letter in the word. If that's the case, that's good. And then to check if the bad guesses are the same as the number of maximum guesses, then we should be good. So one more quick look. Yeah, that's one hit. All right. So you can see that we guessed A, but yeah, letter A is not in there. That's already an error message. So it has to do with line 45. Yep, we need to put that in parentheses and then change everything to equal to and then negate it. Yes. So that works now. Let's try it now. Control C to cancel and then run it again. And this time around, oops, we are trying to append the guess to the guesses. But that is not right because guesses is a set and the sets do not have an append method. The sets do have an add method, so we need to add it instead of appending it. Okay, so once we've updated that, let's try cleaning the screen again and running it one more time. Looks like a really short letter, short word. There's no L, there's no A. It looks like there's one, there's L, but we did not print it out. So that's another error message. Let's go back and double check that. Oh, yeah. So after looping through, we want to be able to display that word. So let's go ahead and display it so that we can see what letters are right, which ones are wrong. So let's double check again one more time. Okay, so once that's done, let's run this one more time. Okay, we can see the word, but yikes, looks like it's appending it to the end still. Now let's see. Yep, it keeps just appending it to the end rather than doing it. So I think I need to reset the word display every single time. Once I reset it, I should be good. But for now, let's see what other errors I can generate before I go ahead and do that. Looks like no errors so far. I've been able to get A and C. We can already tell what the name is of the Avenger. But let's go ahead and quit out of that and then go ahead and reset that word display so that we can be good to go. Okay, cancel out of this. Run it one more time. And that's looking great now. So you can guess the name starts with A and there is a man somewhere. It sounds like Ant-Man. Yay, we guessed our first Avenger. And that's because we're able to reset that word display before looping each time so it doesn't just append it. Alright, so let's try failing this time around. Just going to see that looks like Captain Marvel, but we're going to choose all the wrong answers. And yep, it says sorry, you have reached the max guesses. So we've been able to test both the good outcome and the bad outcome. And next we need to work on version 2. We're going to make this code more readable, add a few bells and whistles in there, make it perfectly fine. Alright, so one more example. So now let's try to run the code and see what we get. Awesome. So again, we'll see we run into some issues which we address immediately. And we've been able to do everything that is expected of us in this initial run. So that's how you would go about creating a word guessing game. It does not have to be Avengers. It could be a list of foods. a list of your favorite artists or your sports fans or anything you want, a list of anything, we can do that as well. So in this video, again, we'll improve the code by adding some features like difficulty levels and more user-friendly user interfaces, and even get some better error handling. So this will be a little bit more challenging, but it is also suitable for those who want to get a step further into the intermediate level. So we can create something that's more challenging for them. Following that, we're going to get this entire setup in a graphical user interface for the game using libraries that are built into Python like tkinter. And finally, we will have to show a web version of this game using Flask and Django, which will be user-friendly, and even deploy it so that we don't only have to run it on our computer, it can be run on any computer from anywhere that we have access to internet. So stay tuned to my next video in this series. We are going to take our Avengers Assemble game to the next level. Now, don't forget, thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this first part of our Avengers Assemble word game. And if you got some questions, drop it down in the comments. Feel free to leave any other suggestions. And don't forget, please help me help you help others. Like and subscribe, and so that you encourage me to get more programming, not just Python, SQL, DevOps, cybersecurity, cloud computing, everything. We got it covered, and we'll be able to have all of those wonderful things set up for you. Awesome. See you around on the next video. This has been Vitusdk, and you already know.